All right, so I figured I'd start out today. Several of you have asked about the shop, so I figured I'd give a quick and dirty kind of shop tour, especially in honor of the fact that the shop right now is substantially trashed, which is unfortunately is kind of the way that I work. I tend to be working on 5 different things at the same time, and in the process of that, I trash the shop pretty good, and then I get frustrated because I can't find a tool, or because I'm tripping over crap, and then I'd stop and clean the shop, put everything back in order, and vacuum and blow dust off and all that shit, and then I actually get back to work. So I'd like to say that I'm you know, better than I am when it comes to that, but the fact of the matter is I've been doing this 30 years, and you know, this is the way I've always worked. So anyhow, I'll just kind of turn the camera around and give you a little look-see. So over here we got a lumber rack, just a simple sheet goods rack, rolling scrap cart, because you know, I'd save everything. I would have, I guess, done pretty well in the Great Depression, because I have a coffee can or a baby food jar or something with God knows everything in it. But anyway, so all this scrap, and I keep using it till I can't anymore, and then I throw it in the scrap bin and it goes out to be burned. But there's the oak that we're using currently for our cap rails, which, you know, we're forming up down here. Over here, this is an industrial CNC. It's a 4x8 foot bed. I do a lot of projects for military and for, you know, civilians, and you can see a proof piece that I did over there of Marine Corps emblems for the training battalions of Parris Island, which Parris Island Marine Corps Recruit Depot is here in the town we live in Beaufort. So anyway, just scrap pieces over here. These pieces right here are the I guess mount rings that go around the port holes, the seals for the ports. I've got a pile of stanchions that need work on them, and the stern pulpit. This is the piece from the stern cap rail. These, as you can see, are all the pieces from the cap rail over the rest of the boat, are laying all over hell, because you know, they came off in shattered pieces, so you'll see black tape all over it. That's where I've pieced them back together. Had to mark orientation so I knew what the hell went where, and you know, ports that we rebuild are sitting here ready to go back in, but in usual fashion, you take one thing out, then you take 47 more things out, and then you have to go backwards another 5 miles before you can actually go forward. So once again, I'm getting ready to do a layup on the cap rail. This is for the other bow section. I did the scarf joints last night, let them set overnight, and then I'll do the glue and the layup on that. This is sort of a saw station slash work table. Do, you know, a great deal of my work on this. This is a rolling assembly table, and it ends up being more of a storage unit than anything else. I got a shaper over here. This is the computer control set for the CNC. Dust collection, which is supposed to be outside in a containment area with the compressor. Well, the compressor's out there, but in usual fashion, I got, you know, distracted and pulled off on other projects, so I never have built the containment area. So obviously I can't put the dust collector out there because it has cloth bags on it. So I just have a very expensive compressor out there that's effectively rotting away in the rainwater. This is a paint booth area. You know, I've got a little switch over here. It's got an explosion proof fan in it that sucks all the garbage out. Spray cans I use, lacquers and different things that I use. What else? Oh, you guys will remember that. That's the heating box that I had to make for the resin and hardener, because, you know, obviously it's kind of hard to use when the resin is consistently 60 degrees, and it's like pouring, you know, really thick maple syrup on stuff, and trying to bed glass with that is not great. clamp area. A lot of my clamps are on the floor right now, as you saw. The ladder that I use to climb up to blow the 15 pounds of dust a day out of the air conditioning unit, which is critical out in this building to keep it climate controlled. Drill press. This is just miscellaneous hardware, and in usual fashion, it's semi-organized. Believe it or not, I know where the hell everything in there is, but you know, you wouldn't know it to look at it. But miscellaneous tools that I use frequently, hand tools and stuff, get pulled out and then thrown back in. Saw station, another flat rack, the cap rail that I made yesterday. The other bow section rail is actually sitting up there so that it doesn't end up twisted into a ball. You know, and again, just sawdust everywhere, tools all over the place. At some point today, I'll get frustrated and I'll have to clean it all up. This is frequently used stuff, and it just kind of gets thrown back there. Little organization rack for power tools. Half of them are actually out on the boat. Toolbox, you know, that I built one afternoon when I was bored in between projects and made it out of scrap. So it's got a bunch of miscellaneous stuff like different drawer slides on it, just based on whatever the hell I happen to have laying around the shop at the time. You know, beer fridge, very important, but I can't, the thermostat on it seems to be wonky, so every time I put beer in there, it turns it into beer sickles. So I'm relegated to having to use the refrigerator inside. I know it's a tragedy, but you know, anyway. Drying rack, different project stuff on here. I did a sample run on wooden grills, just trying to see if the machine will cut them effectively. Leftover pieces of teak from different project work. Here's an old range cover board that made for our camper. We still had it, and of course there's the steam box and the form that getting ready to use to bend this piece, which is the step down rail. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just an old jet table saw, kind of a workhorse. That's, like I said, that's kind of the shop. I know several people had asked, but I'm going to get going on this layup and get that thing glued up, and then it'll lay and glue overnight, and I'll pull it out tomorrow. It'll be stable enough to work with. I'll plane it because it's the stock I've got is 13/16 S2S white oak. So these are the drop pieces from yesterday from scarfing. But like we were talking about with the scarf, what you're trying to do is get as long of a glue surface as you can to make it as stable as possible. So I created that jig so that we could create these scarves. But again, it's a slow process because on a layup like this, you know, you have to glue the scarves up, glue them, and then I pin them just to make them stable. Go back over, drive the pins in deeper if I need to, and sand that out, and then I lay them in the form. They're under a little bit of stress, but not very much. They're mostly just relaxed. So I lay them in here to get them started thinking about bending, and let those scarves dry up overnight, and then I go in here and clamp them and wedge them. You see there's wedge blocks there and wedge pieces all over the place. But I'll clamp and wedge, and I had some real bad rise out of the last one, probably over tightening a clamp and not getting it flat. But I thought very much about putting strap blocks down to hold the thing flat, but I thought, probably be okay. Well, it wasn't. So it wasn't anything I couldn't get out with the planer, but it still was just an extra step that was unnecessary when I could have taken one more step and gotten it flat. But so anyway, I'll get this glued up today, and that'll sit overnight, and then I'll pull it tomorrow and do the rough cuts on it, just getting it ready to go. You know, we talked about before, that bow section's got a real hard angle at the end to accommodate the bow itself, the bow plate, and then this end right here has got an S scarf on it that will actually fit around a chain plate. So anyway, all right, well, I've rambled on enough and I need to get to work, but that's kind of what's going on. I'll update more as we go along. I don't know if people want to actually see more of this process of laying up, but it's really just, it's not that big of a deal. It's literally just, you know, it's a modest curve form, and you're basically just gluing up those boards and slapping them in there and pulling them into the form and letting them dry up. So again, I don't think it's anything that fancy, but I guess some people do. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to get that done, and then at some point I'll get pissed off today and clean the shop up. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at. I guess there's nothing really extravagant here. Those are getting laid up with Titebond 2. As I talked about in the other video, Titebond 2 is, I think, a much better choice for that sort of layup. But I do have concerns about the Titebond 2 being a PVA glue. I have concerns about it going into the steam box. So the pieces that I lay up for those step down pieces for the cap rail, I'm going to do an epoxy and let those cure for probably 4 or 5 days before I put them in the steam box and bend those pieces. So yeah, cap rail, anyway, long, tedious process. I mean, it's a valuable one. It's pretty important for the boat that the rail be in good order. I don't think people put enough stock in how important that piece of wood is, but it's pretty damn important because it covers a hell of a lot of penetrations in the boat and creates a stable base for the stanchions and supports the chain plates and that sort of thing. So kind of important that it's right. But anyway, all right, rambled enough again. Gonna cut the music back on and get back to work. Talk to you later.